Ireland executive is still not up and running, which is an astonishing, extraordinary situation. You're the Northern Ireland Secretary. Do you accept responsibility or some responsibility for this failure?
No, I think we are trying to find the solutions to the problems. One of the reasons, the main reason that the Democratic Unionist Party left the executive, and remember we are here, the backdrop behind me is Queen's University Belfast, where we are marking the 25th anniversary of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement, which set up the institutions, many institutions, one of the most key ones being Stormont, the executive, having MLAs elected. And Stormont is run on a very different basis to many other legislatures across the world because of the unique circumstances in Northern Ireland. It's on the principle of consent. You need the consent of both communities to get it up and running. In the past, Sinn Féin have collapsed Stormont. This time it's the Democratic Unionist Party, and they were concerned about the impact of the Northern Ireland Protocol was having here. And I'd like to think through the Windsor framework we have managed to solve a number, the vast number of those issues. And now we are talking to the Democratic Unionist Party and unionist communities about getting their politicians back into power sharing, because that's what is required here for the smooth and effective delivery of public services. And here in Northern Ireland, public services are more challenged than just about every other place in the United Kingdom.
You say that the DUP aren't prepared to enter power sharing because of the protocol. Some would argue that actually that's effectively a fig leaf, that the real reason they don't want to get it back into power sharing is because they can't stomach the idea of a First Minister from Sinn Féin. Do you think that's the real truth?
Well, certainly I've heard Sir Geoffrey Donaldson say absolutely categorically, and I've got no reason to disbelieve him, that is definitely not the case. And I've spoken to a whole host of, as you would expect, DUP MLAs and others from the unionist community. No, I truly believe that is not the reason.
So it's because they think that the Brexit deal is bad?
What they would like to see, and we've had this discussion on panels here over the last couple of days, I believe what the DUP would like to see is a restatement by the government of the United Kingdom about the importance and the position of Northern Ireland as an integral part of the United Kingdom. And that's something I'd like to think I have done here, and the Prime Minister will do later today.
Now, honestly, like taking the political sort of speak away, how close or how far do you think the DUP are from re-entering power sharing? What is going on in the conversations, and how optimistic are you?
I mean that's a really difficult one, because I'm now waiting to hear back from the Democratic Unionist Party as to exactly what they would like us to do as a UK government to kind of restate what we are doing here, that Northern Ireland is an integral part of the United Kingdom based on the Belfast Good Friday Agreement, where we're marking the 25th anniversary here today, and will remain so unless the people of Northern Ireland want to change that. No politician's words or views can change that. So I think you'll find that the government of the United Kingdom is very keen and happy to restate how important it is that how proud we are of having Northern Ireland as part of the United Kingdom. But we're waiting for a Democratic Unionist Party friends and colleagues to tell us how they would like that to be stated, so we can do it properly. Because I'm keen, just as everybody else is, to get the institutions here up and running.
I mean, I have to admit that, if it was all as simple as just the UK government saying that we're happy and proud for Northern Ireland to be part of the Union, I'm sure it would have been fixed by now. It feels to me like actually there's much more thorny and difficult issues at stake, like the role of the European courts in Northern Ireland, for example. At what point do you say, look, this is not working, I'm going to call another election?
Well, I do have the power to call an election here in Northern Ireland. I don't think it would be helpful at this stage, and I have that power all the way through to early 2024. But to me, that is the kind of the ultimate backstop, and it's not something I'd be keen to do. Everybody tells me here that it would just polarise the situation across society more than it is polarised now, and that's not what that's not an aim that I have or the government has. So we want the institutions up and running. We've heard some good words from Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, a former MP who is a high-ranking MLA, Emma Little-Pengelly, here at this conference. And I truly believe that we can get there. remember, it wasn't that long ago that the Windsor Framework became public, as it were, and was adopted. It was less than a month ago that it was actually voted on in the House of Commons and went through the Joint Committee. And there's a lot of there's an awful lot in the Windsor Framework. Took a lot of negotiation, and so that's why we've tried to give as much time and space to the unionist communities and their political representatives to digest all that. But I like to think we are getting to the point where that is, that is being well understood. That negotiation between the UK and the EU is over. It's all about implementation and demonstrating that it does exactly what it says it does.
You said this week the ongoing stalemate in Stormont was the single biggest threat to the union. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so this is one of the Stormont, the executive and the MLAs are one of the key parts. It's a key part of the Belfast Good Friday agreement. I'd like to think that what we've been able to deliver with the Windsor Framework, which does put Northern Ireland in a unique position within our union, helps guarantee Northern Ireland as part of our union for a very long time to come. And I think when people do not see their institutions up and running, and public services are falling back compared with the rest of the United Kingdom, then they start to wonder whether that institution is worth having. And actually, at the end of the day, maybe look to other places to try and deliver, or maybe believe that another constitutional setup will deliver those services. We're not in that space.
So are you effectively saying then that frustration with Stormont, frustration perhaps with the DUP in particular, could push people to supporting a united Ireland?
What is happening here is that we've got local elections in Northern Ireland that are a tiny bit later than in the rest of the United Kingdom on May the 18th. There'll be an interesting test of local opinion, but unionist communities should be comfortable in knowing that the government of the United Kingdom wants them to remain a strong part of our United Kingdom for as long as they want to. The only thing that can change that is the people, the voices, the votes of the people of Northern Ireland in the future. So they are in complete control of their own destiny. So I actually think the union is as strong here as it's ever been, and going to get stronger through what we've managed to deliver through the Windsor Framework. And what I'm trying to say is that now we need the institutions of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement to be up and running to demonstrate to people that their votes count, that their views count, and that democracy counts.
While I've got you, we've just had the list of ministers' interests drop, and I just want to have a look at the section from the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, because there has been some questions about his wife's involvement in a company called Corrie Kids and whether or not there was a conflict of interest with some of the childcare arrangements that he's announced. So in the declaration, it says the Prime Minister's wife is a venture capital investor. She owns a venture capital investment company, Catamaran Ventures UK, and a number of direct shareholdings. It then goes on to say, as the PM set out in his letter to the chair of the liaison committee, this includes the minority shareholding that his wife has in relation to the company Corrie Kids. Why is he only declaring the one company that has been outed in the media? Shouldn't he not be declaring all of the companies that his wife has involvement with to avoid any idea of a conflict of interest?
I'm afraid, Sophie, because this is part of an ongoing investigation, I'm not going to comment on this sort of thing. When this is all over, I'm quite sure things will be completely clear.
I'm talking not specifically about Corrie Kids. I'm talking about why isn't he being more open about his wife's business dealings?
I think you're being fairly specific about the Prime Minister and his interests. There's an investigation going on, and I'm going to wait to the end of that.